The Fort Lauderdale Eldercare channel is brought to you by Sydney Shigani and the great folks with Right at Home of Broward County. Today's guest is Katrina Beasley, Executive Director of the Peninsula, a Meridian Senior Living community.
Welcome to the Fort Lauderdale Eldercare channel. My name is Sydney Shigani. I'm your host today. And today we have Katrina Beasley from the Peninsula, an assisted living community. Welcome, Katrina.
Thank you, Sydney.
We're so glad to have you here today. I look forward to our discussion to help our viewers get a better understanding of how they can avail of the services of an assisted living and memory care community.
Sure.
How long has your community been in business?
So the Peninsula has been in business for over 15 years.
Please define for our audience the market area served by your assisted living community.
So the Peninsula is, what we do there is we offer assisted living and memory support care, as you mentioned earlier, to that individual that can no longer or desires to stay in their own home, to live independently. So what the Peninsula offers is the assisted living, which is the assistance with the activities of daily living. And to break that down just a little bit, the bathing, the dressing, the grooming, meal preparation, housekeeping, and such. And so we'd like to think that the person coming to us no longer has to worry really about taking care of those kind of things, the cooking and the shopping, but really getting some assistance with those daily needs that they require.
Right. Could you tell us about your typical client, Katrina?
A typical...
I should say resident.
Resident,
right?
yes,
Sorry.
exactly, I know. A typical resident is one who is about age 62 or older. Again, going back, has lived in their home or lived with family members and just needing an additional level of care, a higher level of care, without having to worry about, am I going to be able to take care of myself? Am I going to be able to do meal preparation? So the typical client coming into the community is one, really I guess I'd have to say is one that has been in their home for maybe a number of years, and really family, or they've made the decision that, I need to go into a setting not only where I'm going to get the care, but I'll still be able to get the socialization that I need.
Gotcha. Katrina, without using actual names, can you think of a particular case and what your residents had gone through and how you were able to help your residents or their families?
So, and I guess when I think about that, it's one more recent. We had a gentleman who moved into the community. He was independent for a number of years, living at home in his condo on the beach with his girlfriend, and was pretty much, up until probably maybe a couple of years ago, able to shop for himself. He was still driving, providing the care that he needed for him and his girlfriend. They were able to function pretty much independently on their own. But it was through the, what we typically will see, family member visiting for a holiday. Although they've spoken to dad on the phone, dad sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
But then they come and they visit and they recognize that dad is not doing so well. Dad is not, taking care of himself, in terms of hygiene and meals, getting the nutrition. And so they sought out the Peninsula. And so what we, able to work it out with the family member, resident now is in the community, thriving, has met some friends, has great socialization, certainly getting the adequate meals and nutrition medications, with us doing the medication management, and really just vibrant. The daughter was here probably about 2 weeks ago and just said, "My goodness, Katrina, my dad looks so good, and this is the best thing that we could have ever done." So,
That's great.
yeah, I know, right? I mean, seriously. And those are the stories that I like to hear. Those are the things I like to hear from families when they say, "Listen, you've made a difference."
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Katrina, I know that affordability can be an issue sometimes. What are the different ways to pay for this type of community setting?
So typically at the Peninsula, many of our residents are private pay, which is traditionally the way, it's private pay. But we do offer services where if the prospective resident or the resident has served in the military or their spouse has served in the military, particularly during wartime, there is the benefit of the VA assistance. As well as there is the long-term managed care program. The Peninsula participates in there, where we work with a number of managed care organizations, and the resident can receive up to $1,200 towards their living, their care needs at the community. So not just the private pay, but also VA assistance. We have some residents also that have long-term care policies that will pay for some of their care and their assistance at the community. So not just private pay, but those other 3 ways as well.
Okay, very good to know.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes it can be confusing for people who don't. I mean, how often do you go through this once in your
Yes,
life?
exactly right. And you know what? There's a lot of myths out there about assisted living and affordability, and what one can pay or not pay. And so oftentimes when we get the family member or the prospective resident in themselves, that's always a challenge of how can I pay for this. And so, at that moment, then that's when we put our thinking caps on and we begin to ask the questions and find out how we can offer some of those other benefits to the prospective resident or their family member.
Yes, that's very helpful. Is there anything you can tell our audience that your community does differently compared to others?
So probably with the Peninsula, and I'm sure probably some of the other communities will say care, but I can recall when I first was hired and was in the community probably about a week, and of course, we're always, from an executive director, you're challenged with looking at the business end of it. But if I had to say, it's care. Because I truly do believe that at the Peninsula we offer what I would say almost like individualized care. Really, our nurses, our certified nursing assistants, really just go out of their way to make sure that the resident is taken care of. And I say that because when I got there, it was almost like they were kind of overboard with it. But the more I looked at it, it really became more of this like individualized care that they were doing for the resident.
So it's more on a personalized
On a
basis.
personalized, yes, exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really focusing in on the needs of the resident and making sure that they get the care, not only getting the care that they need, but above and beyond that.
Very good. Well, I have one more question for you. Is there anything else you'd like to say to share with our audience about your community? Anything at all that you would like for them to know?
So what I'd like to, I guess what I'd like to share is the tenured service of our employees. We have a number of long-term employees at the community, some 10 years, some 15 years, wow. Some really there at the inception of the Peninsula, so 15 years or more. And that's
That's
not so typical these days.
No.
You know, we kind of joke about it in the senior housing that 2 years, maybe 3 years tops, is when you would have an employee at these types of communities in this type of industry. But I pride the Peninsula on the tenure of the staff, and not just them being there, but they still give the quality of care and service as if day one when they first walk through the door, when they're first hired.
And that says something. They're comfortable, they like it there, they're
Yes,
happy,
yes.
they're staying.
Yes, exactly.
Gotta read between the lines.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that made it so easy for me with the transition, because of course, you know, not only the knowledge that they were able to share, but just really the care and the concern that they had, and pretty much happy at what they do. And for me, gosh, a happy house makes for a great success.
Absolutely, I agree. Could you please tell our audience how you can be reached and where you're located?
Sure. The Peninsula is located in Hollywood, Florida. We're right on Hallandale Beach Boulevard, and the corner of 52nd Avenue. So if you just need an address, it's 5100 West Hallandale Beach Boulevard. And I or my staff can be reached pretty much 24 hours a day at 954-893-7755. And then on our website, which is meridiansenior.com.
This is Sydney Chugani, your host on the Fort Lauderdale Eldercare channel, and we're so glad to have Katrina Beasley today from the Peninsula, an assisted living community. See you next time.